Thanks for listening to the AZ Wildcats podcast. I am your host, Mike Luke. By the way, go to GoPHNX. Get these shirts right now. Jacob Franklin, if you will pull these shirts up right here, these shirts right here. Aaron, these things are going like hotcakes. Check it out. Go to GoPHNX.com. BTFD, my friends. Maybe when Aaron Torres makes his triumphant return to Tucson, he will be in one of these. Who knows? Could probably hook you up. Just saying.
I had a shirt I was supposed to have ready to go, and I actually forgot it in the closet. I'll grab it. At some point you'll have to, we call it, what do we call it in the business? You'll have to vamp for a minute so I can grab one.
We can do that. We can do that. I can talk, Aaron, I can talk to myself all day while you go do that. We don't even have to put that off until the next show. We can do that. And especially you're in your nice summer retreat home. Where is that? In Bear Canyon? or
it's
not
an undisclosed location. This is my PHNX bunker. I only come here for when I'm, I come here, I focus, I take 2 or 3 days, make sure that I have all my thoughts on Arizona athletics together, jam out on the piano here and there. And then I go home. By the way, this is definitely a fake background for people that are watching live with us on here.
You should run with it, Aaron. I would have told you. I would have told nobody. It would have been our secret.
My PNX bunker. It's the PNX bunker. We won't tell anybody.
All right, let's talk about it because Aaron, we're here to pat you on the back.
Sure.
You're
like one of my favorite activities. Yes.
When Arizona got Keshad Johnson, I kid you not, immediately Aaron Torres texted me and he said, "Dude, this is a big, big time get for you. I don't care if he averaged 7 and 5. I don't care if he averaged 3 and 1. He is going to be a monster at Arizona." Aaron Torres, there is a reason that you are so successful in life.
There is. Yeah, no, I mean, most of it is I just work hard and do my homework. But yeah, no, Keshad, great night in Cameron Indoor the other night. By the way, I did predict that victory. Well, I can't say that. I can't say I definitely predicted the victory. I said I thought it could happen. And it did. And so, by the way, congrats to Wildcats fans. I will say, Mike, I've been coming on this show for years. I can just feel the enthusiasm right now around Arizona athletics. So, we all love our teams, and I'm so glad that you guys are getting to do fun stuff and cover fun stuff and all that. As far as Keshad Johnson, I just, listen, I'm a college hoops junkie like you are. I watch everything. It's my job. I'm privileged to do what I do. And you watch San Diego State through the years, and every time that kid came on the court, he just jumped off the screen. All the things that Arizona fans are seeing right now, you don't need me to tell you what he does well and all that. It was funny because I don't know if we talked about this last time, but I was at the Final Four last year, not just because my school was in it, I was covering it, all that stuff. But I bring it up because, you're around that San Diego State team, and this is going to sound like a negative, but it's not intended to, is, there's a lot of 6th year guys, 5th year guys, COVID year guys. Lamont Butler, I was in the press conference where he was kind of asked, hey, you have a year left. Do you plan on being back? He's like, I love it here. I can't imagine being anywhere else. And they asked Keshad, about his future because he had the COVID year, and he was the only one that was kind of non-committal. And I don't think it was because he was a bad teammate. I don't think it was because of anything. I just think he felt like there was a bigger role for him out there. And that's exactly what we've seen this year. By the way, to reflect on that, there was nothing wrong with that attitude or anything. The San Diego State guys have had nothing but great things to say about him as he's left that school with his degree, et cetera. So, no, I just always thought every time he was on the screen, jumped off the screen, super athletic, NBA frame, all of that. We talked about it in the summer. It still stands true. I think for him to have an NBA future, he's got to work on the 3-point shot. But as I said in the summer, if he was a 37% 3-point shooter, I don't think he would have gone to the NBA last year. I think he would have been in the NBA probably 2 or 3 years ago. So great story. Graduated from San Diego State, has overcome a lot. I know in some of his background stuff. And so to see him thrive on that stage at Cameron Indoor, unbelievable. And he was one of many that thrived, obviously, last Friday night against Duke.
He was also perfect for what Arizona needed, and we're going to get to Duke here in a second. But last year, I kind of felt that some of what Arizona did was a little bit of smoke and mirrors. I mean, you watch, there wasn't anybody that was an NBA player on that team, or at least at that level, and there weren't a bunch of dogs. You had some players that talked a lot, but that doesn't necessarily that's not really the equivalent of being a dog. Keshad Johnson is a dog out there. He is an enforcer. He can guard 2 through 4. He can guard 2 through 5. And Arizona hasn't really had somebody that can do a lot of what he can do, maybe since Aaron Gordon on the perimeter, as far as when it comes to defense.
I hate to tell you this. I was at Aaron Gordon's final game, the 2014 Elite Eight in Anaheim. Were you there?
I was there.
Whoa, we didn't even know each other.
Yeah, we didn't know each other. Aaron, how did you not see me? I'm 6'6". Come on, how'd you?
That was one of the last. That was one of the greatest college I mean, not for Arizona fans, but that was one of the greatest college basketball games that nobody ever talks about. What was it like? It was like a 1-score game for like the final 11 minutes plus overtime or something crazy like that.
It was wild. It was as close a game as you could ever have between two teams that were playing really good basketball as well.
Yeah. So I was at Aaron Gordon's final game. That's a fun fact. So yeah, what was the question about? That he brings something different. No, there's no doubt. And listen, let's take a second. You know, if you're going to pat me on the back, I got to pat you on the back, because this was something I think you were saying. I think even during last season, but certainly after the season ended and we kind of went through that April-May period where you start to put together the following year's roster. You said we need to be more athletic. We need to be more dynamic. We need some tougher guys. And it's no knock on last year's guys, but you were on that train from the beginning. They've overachieved. Kerr is limited. It's not a knock on Kerr Kriisa. I don't want to speak for you, but right. You know, in the big games against elite competition, he was not great. And to reach the goals that every Arizona fan has when you start the season, every Arizona player, every Arizona coach, you needed some difference makers. And so I am so impressed by this group. Keshad is the one that's, you know, kind of leading the charge right now. But listen, and I know we're going to get into it, but the development of Kylan Boswell, who's reached obviously another level as he's gotten healthy. Caleb Love just, really seeming to kind of fit into a role and accepting that role. You know, we'll go on through the whole thing from Friday, but it wasn't just Keshad, but I give you credit because you were on top of that where, being good isn't good enough. And you really, I think, publicly called for some real change to the roster construction. It's happened. And obviously we're seeing the impact of it now.
What impressed me most about Duke, and thank you, Aaron, very kind words. And what really impressed me with Arizona against Duke is that there was a lot of times that Arizona could have folded in that Arizona would get up 8, then Duke would come back, and then Duke towards the end, it kind of felt like, all right, Arizona's a little bit of trouble, but they had dudes at the end that embraced those moments. Pelle Larsson, both those free throws were pure. Caleb Love, even though he didn't play a great game, Caleb Love would have made 30 straight free throws in that situation. Those are the kind of situations where you win games with. And Arizona, again, they didn't really have that type of situation. The other thing that really impresses me about them in the show against Duke is that they can come at you with physical athletes on the perimeter with size, whether it's KJ Lewis, who we'll definitely get to, Pelle Larsson, Caleb Love, Keshad can do that as well. It's just a totally different team.
Totally different team. And I think, the thing that stood out to me, I think everybody kind of knew about the top 6, which would be Boswell, Pelle, Jaden Bradley, Caleb Love. That's 4. Ballo and Keshad Johnson is 6. Listen, I had seen KJ Lewis. I thought he was better than I think a lot of people thought he was coming in, recruiting rankings, etc. Right. I obviously knew nothing about Krivas until opening night against Morgan State. And I forget if I texted you, but I know I tweeted it. Like I said right away, I said, this team is so much deeper and frankly better than last year. And right. It's funny, Mike, I was thinking about this knowing I was coming on with you today, is that there are so many times where a guy like me, a guy like you, you beat Morgan State by 50 and people like get so offended if you say, wow, that was more impressive than I expected. Like, oh, of course you're supposed to beat Morgan State, blah, 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 blah.
Right.
And it's like, okay, well, ask Michigan State, which lost to James Madison. Ask LSU, which lost to Nicholls State. Ask Louisville, which loses to pretty much everybody. It's like, no, like beating a team that you're supposed to beat by 30, by 50 is in and of itself, like, it's obviously a great night. It's not a be all end all, but you can learn things from that kind of game. And that's what drives me crazy about being in the business that we are, is like, you can only learn something if you beat Duke or if you lose to Duke. It's like, no. You can still learn something by watching that Morgan State game. And that's exactly what I learned, was just, wow, this team's deeper than I thought. And you know, I was even texting a buddy like, man, when Ballo goes out, this Krivas kid can give you, 7-8 minutes at a time and you don't miss a beat. Again, Keshad, we've obviously talked about the size on the perimeter, which you just referenced. I think that's the biggest thing. And I know I'm going in a lot of different directions, so
keep going, man. Keep going. We want to hear it.
Okay. Well, I'm going to go. And again, I'm not doing it just to bring up my alma mater, the University of Connecticut, but why I bring it up. Last year in the tournament, you watch those games, and there were games where they just physically overwhelmed everybody.
Yeah.
You know, Andre Jackson, essentially a 6'9" point guard. Jordan Hawkins was the smallest starter at 6'4", who's playing in the NBA right now. And so I just bring it up because I think we all get so caught up in, veteran guards and this and that, and like, what wins in March? And it's like, if you just have dudes across the board, size, physicality, athleticism, you're going to match up tough with everybody. Whereas a Virginia, a Purdue, like I was watching Purdue last night, there's still nothing exciting about them, and they're still going to struggle for the same reasons they struggled last year. Whereas a team like Arizona, if they just get after it defensively, it makes life so tough. If they get after it on the boards, it makes life so tough. And I think we kind of take that for granted sometimes. Sometimes you just need dudes, you need size, you need athleticism. Arizona checks all those boxes.
Arizona checks all those boxes in a big way. Also, Aaron Torres, have you been to Circle K lately, my friend?
No, I don't think I have been, as a matter of fact.
All right, Aaron Torres.
Nobody does reads like you do, by the way.
All right, Aaron Torres, I'm telling you, you should go to Circle K right now. The cheapest gas in Tucson, if you were to come here right now, is at Circle K on Tanque Verde and Wilmot right there. Aaron Torres would never have to pump gas if he came to Tucson. I guarantee you that. We would all do it for you. But Aaron, you could also join the Inner Circle for free by downloading the Circle K app. Get it? The Inner Circle?
Oh, yeah.
It's good. It's good. All right. Terms and conditions apply at participating locations. Visit CircleK.com for details. And Shady Rays. Aaron, like I said, you are essentially the de facto mayor of Tucson. You're already really cool. People like you, but you know what would look even cooler is if Aaron Torres came back to Tucson wearing some Shady Rays. Shady Rays are awesome sunglasses. I can exclusively for our listeners, Shady Rays is giving out their best deal of the season. Go to shadyrays.com and use code PHNX for 50% off 2+ pairs of polarized sunglasses. Try for yourself the shades rated 5 stars by over 250,000 people. All right, Tommy Lloyd, with what he's been able to do, this mirrors Gonzaga to me in a certain way, and you and I were texting a little bit about this. Somebody like Mount Krivas, doesn't that feel like somebody that Gonzaga would get, and they would stash him for a year back in the past, and he becomes a 3-time first-team all-WAC or all West Coast Conference performer, and this was a dude that was on nobody's radar. KJ Lewis was kind of the same way. These guys are both going to be all-conference players before they're out of here.
That was one of the things that they at Gonzaga, and increasingly, I think it was just Tommy Lloyd at Gonzaga. I mean, great talent evaluation, both domestically and internationally. I mean, Corey Kispert, even as an American kid, I don't remember him being like a can't miss prospect. Played
top fringe 100 kid. Yeah.
Ends up a top 15 NBA pick. Some of the international guys, it obviously goes without saying. And I think, that's one thing I will say. The international stuff is just so interesting to me because it's just these guys, and Tommy Lloyd has obviously, he's kind of young to be the godfather of something, but he's kind of the godfather of international recruiting. And it's like, you see now, obviously UCLA going over, Kentucky's got an international guy. It's the weirdest recruiting process ever because a name isn't even on the radar. And then all of a sudden, boom, it's like, there's a commitment right there. And it's like, oh, what do we need to learn about this guy? So no, Krivas is the exact prototype of the guys that have had success at Gonzaga. Frankly, watching even that opener against Morgan State, I think there's a couple other guys in that international class, freshman and sophomore, that's going to take a little bit longer, but they're going to develop into valuable college basketball players. So no, Krivas is obviously the guy that stood out. And listen, man, I was so impressed. And I don't, one thing I try to do is never claim to be an expert on something I'm not.
You are an expert, Aaron. You get paid to give your opinion. You're an expert.
Well, listen, this is one thing I'm not an expert on. I'm not an expert on European levels of competition and atmosphere. So why I bring it up was like, I don't know if, maybe he's played in some of those crazy European atmospheres where they're setting off firecrackers in the middle of the arena,
Right.
but he just walked into Cameron Indoor like it was nothing. He just came in, kind of gave him really good minutes, not too high, not too low. So yes, he reminds me very much of the guys that Tommy used to have at Gonzaga, the guys that, by the way, Gonzaga no longer has. They're all matriculating down to Tucson. So I think he has really been the breakout, star is the wrong word, but the breakout surprise of the early part of the Arizona season, at least for me. I don't know if you were hearing buzz in the summer and fall, but he's been the surprise star for me.
See, and I give Sheer crap about this all the time, and I should. I think it's impossible to scout international players.
Yes.
I mean, listen, I'm going to trust Tommy Lloyd's opinion, but half the time I imagine these gyms being these smoke-filled gymnasiums with this guy walking around with an Adidas sweatsuit and slicked back hair with like one of those FDR cigarette holders with like the Zapruder film, or they're trying to reenact something by putting a broomstick up as a 7-footer. It's just impossible to say. Look, Henry Vasar was considered a top 30 kid. Mount Krivas was considered a top 120 kid. No disrespect to Henry. We want Henry to get better. There is no comparison between the two players. I tell Sheer this all the time. You guys should stop trying to do this because they look silly. We can make fun of them, Aaron.
Well, listen, I'll never make fun of Sheer. He's the man.
You should.
But, you should have me on with him sometime. I like talking to Sheer. I like talking ball with him. But
yeah, we will have you on next time with Sheer. That's a great idea. I'm putting that down right now.
Just let me know because I got to reserve the PHNX bunker here. So,
nice.
All right. So, what I was going to say was, it's impossible. And people can lie and say that it isn't. And I don't know what Sheer's big take is on it. What I can tell you is, like, I'll give you an example outside of Arizona. I talked to some of the UCLA people this year, and I think an Arizona fan knows, but they have 4 or 5 like really high profile international guys.
Right.
And I talked to them, 3-4 weeks ago, and they're like, guys, first of all, UCLA is a little different. They're on the quarter system, but it's like they just got here. English is not the first language for any of them. Now they all obviously can speak it, but new culture, new food, new location. In the case of the UCLA guys, they never took visits. It's not like they were, it's not like a Kylan Boswell, who I personally saw on campus in Tucson and probably took 3-4 visits before he committed. Like, right. So the why I'm bringing it up is it certainly helps if you can be like Arizona and have them there in the summer so they can kind of adjust and adapt. But to sit there and say that there's some advanced science to it, I really don't think there is, because again, it's not just, it's hard enough to kind of evaluate kids and how they're going to perform as freshmen that are domestic, that are American, that are living away from home for the first time, that are, dealing with whatever for the first time. Now add the international element of it where, your family's 18, 20, 24 hours away, whatever it is. And like I said, new country, new food, new customs, new schooling, new way of coaching, new way of communicating. You go on and on down the list, weight training, maybe for the first time, diet and nutrition, maybe for the first time. There's just so many different variables. And so, yes, I like Sheer. I don't know what his take is. I don't want to start bashing takes that I'm not aware of, but it is very hard. It is very hard to evaluate. So,
all right. You mentioned Kylan Boswell. Is he an All-American caliber player right now?
Oh, yeah. No doubt. And he's one. Listen, I think two things are becoming increasingly clear. One, well, three. I don't know if you heard, he did play at 17 years old last year, so that's probably a factor. Yes, I know.
Another one. He's only 18, by the way.
Yes. By the way, one little side tangent here. I've decided I'm going to take a stance on something.
What do you got?
If a guy reclassifies to the age group that he is supposed to be in, I don't want to hear from the announcer, he's supposed to be in high school right now.
No, he's not.
He's actually 19 years old or 18 years old. He just pushed himself back a year, and then he moved back to his normal grade. Now, Kylan Boswell last year should have been playing high school basketball, but that's neither here nor there. What I was going to say was I think I underappreciated the fact that he was banged up and the fact that, frankly, Kerr was kind of the guy from the previous year. You're not going to take the ball out of his hands, but, listen, let's just be, totally transparent. In the summertime, when it became increasingly clear that Kerr was going to leave, I thought it was a little bit presumptuous by Arizona fans, by Arizona media, by the staff to just assume that Kylan Boswell could just take over and be as good. Well, sometimes, if I'm going to pat myself on the back for all the stuff I get right, I got this one wrong. And he's healthy. He's in control. He knows exactly who he is and the role that he is going to play. And then, I think it's pretty cool that the guys off the ball have kind of accepted their roles, Caleb Love and Jaden Bradley as well. But no, Colin Boswell, absolutely an All-American candidate. He was phenomenal last night or last Friday. And then I would add too, I just think that extra year, it's not extra, but the year deciding to come early, I think ended up working out for the best, because now as an 18-year-old, he just looks so comfortable and so confident in his role.
All right, we're gonna get some picks here from Aaron Torres here in a second. But first, BetMGM, my friends. Here's the deal with BetMGM. You can put down, you will receive. All you have to do is place your first bet on MGM Sportsbook wager through BetMGM, a mobile app of at least $10, and you will receive $200 instantly in additional winnings, regardless of the wager's outcome. Aaron, how cool is that? You get this money regardless. Check it out. Sign up for BetMGM. Use bonus code PHNX. Place your first BetMGM Sportsbook wager through BetMGM Sportsbook mobile app of at least $10. You'll receive $200 instantly in additional winnings, regardless of your wager's outcome. Check out show notes for details. Let's hear the great Shane Diefenbach with the disclaimer.
Problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Colorado, D.C., Illinois, Indiana, Kansas, Louisiana, Maryland, Mississippi, New Jersey, Nevada, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, Virginia, West Virginia, Wyoming. Call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369 New York. Call 1-800-327-5050 Massachusetts. 21 plus to wager. Please gamble responsibly. Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP Arizona. 1-800-BETS-OFF Iowa. 1-800-270-7117 for confidential help Michigan. 1-800-981-0023 Puerto Rico in partnership with Kansas Crossing Casino and Hotel. Visit BetMGM.com for terms and conditions. U.S. promotional offers not available in D.C., New York, or Ontario.
All right. Aaron, who do you like tonight? We've had multiple people ask this. The great Aaron Torres right here. You've been asked questions. We need answers. Who does Aaron have in the Champs Classic tonight? Duke versus Michigan State, Kansas, and Kentucky.
I do like Duke to bounce back. The Tom Izzo comments after they lost to James Madison were very interesting about I might just have to play all my freshmen because these veterans don't want it or something like that. I'm like, Good Lord, Tom Izzo coming in hot. Not surprising. And then, Kentucky right now, for people who don't follow kind of the outside of Arizona, the other Wildcats, if you will. By the way, speaking of other Wildcats, Villanova is a disaster, but maybe that's another conversation for another day. For people that don't know, Kentucky has 3 7-footers on their roster. 2 are hurt. 1, an international player, has not yet been cleared by the NCAA. So not a good night to be going up against Hunter Dickinson. Not a good opponent for them. Kentucky's guard play is really good. I think they're going to struggle. The other thing is, too, Kansas's guards are very veteran. Kevin McCullough, who's been around forever. DeJuan Harris, who's part of that national championship team. So I would take Kansas to win outright. Last number I saw was 5.5. I would probably still lean Kansas there.
So much A backing on the screen. Really like that. Getting all the comments. By the way, Aaron, do you know that you can click on the comments and you can see all the comments coming in on your screen? Do you see this?
I did. Yes. I try not to look at them in case,
they're going to be all love. Trust me. They're going to be all smooches. They're not going to be, there won't be anything negative when Aaron Torres is on this show.
I hope so.
You have my word. All right. Now going forward, you mentioned Arizona's got a gauntlet this year. You play Alabama, you play Michigan State, you play Purdue. You mentioned Purdue. Let's talk Purdue. Purdue to me is the ultimate Big Ten team. And it drives me up a wall. I don't want you to get in trouble because you're national. I'm down here in Tucson. Aaron, I do not understand. We do this every single year. Purdue has 4 guys that essentially play like you and me, and Zach Edey. I do not worry about those teams. Again, they're good, but I'm never surprised when they lose early in March. This is the same exact season.
So 2 things. 1, so this has been my stance on Purdue, frankly, since last April. Okay. Listen, I get why they are like if I was an AP voter, and I'm not, they would be a top 5 team. I'm not. I should be, but I'm not. I don't really care. It's not really like some huge badge of honor. Like, it's not like, walking around, whatever.
Should be.
Listen, if I had an AP vote, they would have been in my preseason top 5. They are the reigning Big Ten champs, regular season and tournament. But all the last probably month, as everyone's doing their preseason stuff and everyone's talking to Torres and asking Torres all the tough questions, can they be this year? Could they be like Virginia in 2019? Virginia had 3 NBA players on their roster, including DeAndre Hunter, who was a lottery pick who got hurt the previous year and did not play in the NCAA tournament. Okay. Right. So I don't see Zach Edey, maybe a fringe 2nd round player, whatever. There's not another NBA player on that roster. And so what we just said about Arizona, the size, the athleticism. No, Purdue is Purdue, and they're not going to win, and they're not going to do whatever. Maybe they make a Sweet 16. If the draw is great, maybe they go beyond. But what I would also say was interesting. I was watching again, I hate to bring up my alma mater, but I was watching UConn's opener against Northern Arizona, as a matter of fact. So see, I'm bringing it full circle.
Yeah.
The Lumberjacks. And Jim Calhoun was doing the broadcast with John Fanta and Donnie Marshall. He came in, and what he said is something that, frankly, somebody on his staff told me years ago. To win the national championship, and he said this on the broadcast, so I'm not sharing top secret information, but it sounds simple. But to win the national championship, you have to win 6 different games against 6 different opponents from 6 different parts of the country that play 6 different styles of play.
Right.
And some teams are built to do that. UConn's built to do that. I think Arizona is built to do that this year. Purdue is not built to do that. We know what the blueprint is to beat them. By the way, our buddy Sean Miller last night, Xavier was with them in that game at home. And so, listen, whatever. I'm not just going to bash Purdue, but I've been with you on the Big Ten stuff pretty much forever. Listen, they people ask me all the time, why do they I've said it for 3 or 4 years. They have cooked the books on how to look good in the net ranking. You go back to the year before they went to 20 league games, they got like 3 or 4 teams in the tournament. Right. They go to 20 league games, then all of a sudden they get like 9 or 10 teams in the tournament. And the bottom line is, I'm not going to get into too many details, but they play 20 league games. They play the Gavitt games. They did up until this year play the ACC Big Ten Challenge. That's 22 power conference teams, most of them playing an MTE 3 games. So that's 25, 26, 27 power conference games. It looks good in the computers. And unfortunately, and this is like a March rant that's coming out in November, but it drives me crazy every year. The committee doesn't do any critical thinking. They pull out their Brandon Staley notepad or their
yes.
their Dave Roberts notepad, and they look at a bunch of numbers and they don't do critical thinking. Well, this team is 17-12, but they have 37 quad 1 games, and it's like, they lost all of them.
Yeah,
every game that matters. And so listen, I've said it for years, is that I don't think there's a lot of critical thinking on the NCAA tournament committee. I think, like I said, I think they hide behind the numbers. They hide behind the net ranking. I hate it, but ultimately, I'm not an AP voter and I'm not in charge of the NCAA tournament committee. And until I am, damn it, there's not much we can do other than complain on the PHNX show. So
let me ask you this, Aaron. Because then we're gonna talk a little bit of Arizona football. You talked with an ex-Arizona coach, my friend.
Good. I talked to my guy Rich Rod the other day. He's doing great. I say he's my guy. It was the first time I've ever talked to him, but I have followed their story at Jacksonville. First of all, again, for the 11th reference to UConn, when I was at UConn, Rich Rod was at West Virginia. Mm-hmm. There was a Big East football back then, for those who remember. And for everyone that's forgotten,
was Donald Brown the running back when you were there?
Donald Brown was the running. The UConn was good in all of those years, and they'd be sitting at 8-2, with 2 games to go, and then West Virginia would roll into town with Rich Rod and just put up 60 on them, and you'd be like, oh wow, this is just not even the same sport. As a matter of fact, I seem to remember one game in West Virginia. It was like a top big matchup, and I remember we got our whole family together. It was like during, Thanksgiving break, and oh my goodness, this is the year. And it was like 35-0 after the first quarter. So I've always admired Rich Rod. I talked to him earlier this week. I think we'll run the interview probably Friday on the Aaron Torres pod. I'll be honest, we didn't talk much Arizona, but he's doing
you don't need to talk any Arizona. I find him a very fascinating figure.
Well, and, he's doing awesome stuff at Jacksonville State. And, I don't know much about Jacksonville, Alabama, but his exact quote was, 3 stoplights and one of them doesn't work in town. And I think he said it's the smallest population of a town of any FBS football program. So I think he's loving it there. We didn't get into, if there's ever an opportunity to move up, if he would again, but I think he's enjoying that rebuild process. They're ahead of schedule. I think even he was kind of surprised at how well they're playing. James Madison is doing this big thing, this big push to get a bowl game this year, right, because they're not eligible because of the transition period. And so I asked him, and I was like, so are you this fired up? And he was kind of like, no, we're going to let them kind of do that brigade. We're just focused on football. So I think he's surprised. I think they're ahead of schedule. And Torres and Rich Rod, Friday, Aaron Torres pod. It'll be fun.
Also, you mentioned West Virginia and Rich Rod. They need to hire Rich Rod back. Let bygones be bygones. Bring the man back. I think it's a great fit for both sides. Again, I'm just saying that as somebody in Tucson. Aaron, I would hire Rich Rod in a second.
It'll be interesting. Well, you know who's going to push to get that job when it opens, right?
Who?
The West Virginia native that just got fired and paid $77 million about 2 days ago. So,
oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh, wow, man. Talk about, interesting.
I'm sure he'll be pushing behind the scenes. But no, I mean, I would hire Rich Rod in a second. So, listen, I mean, he wins everywhere he goes. Well, I don't know. I don't remember how it all – I know how it ended at Arizona.
He was good at Arizona overall.
Yeah. I don't remember what the on-the-field product – I just remember – Fiesta Bowl, conference championship game, all that. But no, I mean, I think, yeah, I think West Virginia should hire him when they eventually make a move. I have been told by people in West Virginia it will never happen the way that he left. It was too messy. But let bygones be. Time heals all wounds, right?
Time heals all wounds. Let's talk a little Arizona football here. But first, look at Aaron's background right there. Look at those immaculate floors behind him right there. It looks like he has Empire Flooring helped him out. With Empire Today, you can shop at home convenience, the right price. Empire Today is the best place to get new flooring. So, of course, they have copycats, but nothing is like that. Now, here's the deal. Schedule a free in-home estimate today. All listeners can receive a $350 off discount when they use promo code PHNX. Restrictions apply. See empiretoday.com/PHNX. And we were talking about the Big Ten. And you might say, man, I got a massive headache from watching this Big Ten basketball. I can't watch it anymore. That's where OGs comes in. OGs, check it out. Just head to www.zenleafdispensaries.com. Find your closest location. Order your favorite OG's gummies for pickup and enter discount PHNX to get 25% off your checkout. This deal is exclusive for our PHNX listeners. And reminder, it's available only online. Pickup orders. Discount code PHNX is active until November 30th. Jedd Fisch. When Jedd Fisch was hired, I thought it was one of the dumbest hires I've ever seen. You get this guy who's essentially a journeyman, goes from one job to one job, never really hangs out. Jedd Fisch has been an A+ hire. And what's wild about watching Arizona football now is there's nothing fluky about it. It doesn't feel like you have to win on a Hail Mary or you need other players to get hurt. Arizona's just beating teams, Aaron. We're not used to that in the desert.
No, it's been fun. For people who don't know much about me, I host Fox Sports Radio, the national kind of post-game show every Saturday from, 11 Eastern to 2 a.m., which is 8 to 11. So Arizona has been on most of these weeks. Arizona was on for the Oregon State game. Washington State was basically done by the time we got on air, and then UCLA as well. So, I've been able to watch all this. I even tuned in a little bit to the Pac-12 network the other day for the Colorado game. But no, I think a couple things stand out. One is that, like you said, that there's nothing fluky about the success. As a matter of fact, the ultimate sign of a program that's on the rise, they didn't even play well on Saturday and they still won. And then two, obviously, I think the other thing is that like you go back to the summer, you go back to last year, everybody knew about the Jedd Fisch offense and his background and all that. The defense has improved. And I don't remember all the scores from last year, but it felt like to win last year, you had to win 41-36 or 44 and you're winning games in which you're holding the opponent to whatever it is, 21 points, this, that, the other thing. So I think it's one of the best stories in college football. I should probably be doing a better job of it, covering it on my Aaron Torres podcast, but 7-3, 3 straight ranked opponents, obviously. You know who you should get on? You know who you should get on your national show? Who's that? Jedd Fisch?
Noah Fifita.
Noah Fifita.
I'm telling Noah Fifita has been the best freshman in college football this year. He's won five Pac-12 Freshman of the Week awards, or 4 of them, excuse me. He's an interesting story, and here's why. I'm going to sell the Noah Fifita story for you.
Okay,
he's a 5'7" quarterback, and he's no taller than 5'8". And he has absolutely destroyed USC, Washington State, UCLA. You look at his numbers; they're amongst the best in the conference outside of the very upper echelon. If there was a national freshman of the year, it would probably be him. And again, we've never really seen anything quite of what he's doing. I would have started him to start the season over Jayden de Laura. Again, I'm wrong on most things. This was one that I was actually right on. But he is a unique story. And he's the one that brought T-Mac with him. He's the one, who's going to be a first-round pick. Jedd Fisch believes he's the best receiver in the country. I don't know if that's true, but he's an interesting story, my friend. You might want to reach out. I think it would be an interesting get for you, my bud.
So Fafita was high school teammates with T-Mac?
T-Mac and Jacob Manu, who's the best defensive player on the team. And he was the one that essentially got all these guys together. I had a head coach of one of the Trinity League schools, I won't name which name, who texted me or tweeted at me. He said, listen, he says, I know this kid's 5'8". He didn't play for me. He said he's something unusual that I haven't really seen before. And he says, I've seen all the 5-star kids, and I'm not saying he's going to be a first-round NFL quarterback. He's too short, but there's something different. And he said, when he hits the field, he will never come off. And that's exactly what happens. Like I said, look up his numbers, check out what he's done. I think he'd be a good get for you. And I think that he would play a little bit.
Have his people call my people. I mean, you're Mr. Tucson. You say I'm the mayor, but you're really the mayor.
I will. You know what? I am going to tell Les Fafita to have him reach out. That would be very, very cool. But let me ask you this. Going forward, UCLA jobs probably going to open up.
You know, you guys keep saying, you really think so, huh? I mean, I haven't heard anything to the contrary that, like, as somebody who lives in LA, now it's kind of a double-edged sword because on the one hand, there's no buzz. On the other hand, Chip does nothing to help create. Like he doesn't do any additional outside media. Like you could criticize Mick Cronin for whatever. He's on with Petros and Money, the biggest local radio show every single Friday during the season. And like Cronin I don't think Cronin is like Mr. Personality. I like Mick, but like, I don't think he's Mr. Personality, but he kind of gets like, you can't just show up on game day and whatever. Chip just won't do anything.
Chip just collecting a paycheck.
I think he's older and I think he wants to do it his way. I don't think I haven't really talked to anybody over there in probably about a year. I don't think he loved kind of the collective movement of the last couple years. But I think, there's a lot of guys that didn't love it a year ago that have just kind of accepted, like, this is where we are. This is what you have to do. And I think once guys have kind of seen, like, it's not the end of college sports as we know it, and everything's pretty much the same, except kids have more money that we know about now and that the public knows about than everything was just kind of under the table. I think everyone's kind of evolved. So I would tell you about a year and a half ago, I heard he's kind of like, he embraced the portal. He was an NFL guy, free agency, whatever, but he was having a tough time with the NIL stuff. But then at the same time, here's the other part. UCLA is not the kind of school that's just going to, they can raise that kind of money, but the money is there to be raised. But UCLA fans aren't, oh, we need a nose tackle. Here's $250K. Like, that's not how UCLA fans operate. So it's the point, I guess, and this is, you ask, this all comes to the point that I'm trying to make, is that I guess there is, in theory, a world where you could hire somebody who in the Big Ten has more success than what Chip Kelly is currently having right now. I also think it is significantly more likely that you are not going to hire that guy and that you're going to end up going in the other direction. Now, listen, the Big Ten's so bad in football, maybe it won't matter because you're going to get everyone talks about, Ohio State. It's like, yeah, there's one Ohio State and one Michigan. Even Penn State, like, you mean to tell me Penn State comes to the Rose Bowl this weekend? I think UCLA could win that game. Anyway, point I'm trying to make. It's a tough job. It's a tougher job than people give it credit for. And I think that if you were to hire somebody, now I've heard like, whether it's Jedd Fisch, obviously, to answer your question, I don't think Jedd Fisch is going anywhere. But I've heard like the Jonathan Smith rumor. Would Jonathan Smith from Oregon State be interested? So I just bring it up because, yes, there is a scenario where if you get the right coach and you know exactly who you want and you get that guy, then yes, you could, in theory, take it to another level. I just think it's also much more likely that it goes in the opposite direction if you move off from Chip. But the point I'm trying to make, I haven't heard anything definitive one way or the other. I know he's not Martin Jarman's guy. He, he preceded Martin Jarman. So, I guess we'll see going forward.
What's your take on Deion?
Listen, I think he's awesome for college football. Mm-hmm. I guess my only thing is, and by the way, I don't believe that he's only in it for his kids. Like, I think that's been a narrative the last like 2-3 weeks so when they started losing, he's just doing it to give his kids a platform and then he's going to leave. I think he genuinely likes working with kids. I think he genuinely loves coaching college football. I just don't really know, not down and dirty in like a derogatory term, but like, I don't know if he's going to get down and dirty in recruiting the way that he needs to. Like, is Deion going to spend the whole month of December in a private jet flying from one kid's house to another? I heard a stat, and I don't know if it's true. I don't think there's any way to concretely prove it other than to ask Deion. I believe the only in-home visit that he did last year was Cormani McClain, the 5-star cornerback. And so, I mean, Mike, you don't need to be like, you can't do one in-home visit during the early signing period and sign. And so I thought he was very successful at Jackson State. I like his blueprint. I like his transparency. I think he enjoys coaching college football. But if you're going to it's almost like a Chris Mullen, a Patrick Ewing. If you're not going to do the things you need to do in recruiting, it doesn't matter how good of a coach you are. It doesn't matter how good of a staff you put together. But I like him. I think he's good for college football. I hope he stays because he's a content factory. But I don't know if he's going to put in the work that needs to be done to have success at the highest level.
Yeah, that's where I think it's going to be fascinating to see what exactly he does do. I think he's great. I like watching him. I like generally how he conducts himself. I don't like throwing kids under the bus. I thought that was kind of crummy when he said that Shedeur should have won the Heisman with the offensive line in front of him. But overall, I think it's a pretty good thing. Let me ask you this. I wanted to switch back to Arizona basketball before we sign off here. Do you see any in this? I've jumped over this on my notes. Do you see, if you were to attack Arizona, or what concerns, if any, do you have about this Arizona basketball team?
I'd have to look at the numbers. It goes back to what we talked about in the summer. Statistically, historically, Keshad Johnson, Caleb Love, Jaden Bradley have not been good three-point shooters.
Right.
Don't know what their percentage was at Duke. Don't know what their percentage is through 3 games this year. That would be one. The other one, and I love the kid, and I think he got kind of a bad rap at North Carolina.
Yeah.
But you could see, even in that Duke game, there were 3 or 4 possessions where Caleb Love was like, oh, I haven't gotten mine in a minute. And he just put his head down and just threw it up.
Right.
Now, look, the best parts of Caleb Love, the 3-pointer before the half, the block on Mark Mitchell, which was like the sickest play ever. All the free
You tweeted
throws.
that.
Oh, yeah, sure
Yeah,
did.
for sure.
Oh, yeah. I back the A, baby. I was trying to say I backed the Caleb or something like that. But
no, you backed the A. Come on, you backed the A, Ron.
So I just, is he going to be bought in for 38, 39 games that you need to reach the ultimate level, bought into a role? Now, by the way, you can still score 18, 20 points a game in a role, but it's got to be in the continuity of what you're doing offensively and all that. So like that would be my concern is, does he just go, is there a game or two where, you're playing at USC and it's a 1-possession game and he just takes 3 straight bad shots? And by the way, like, I think the way the schedule is set up, obviously, you got your marquee win already. There's a bunch more in the non-con, but there's just not a lot of teams in the Pac-12 that are really going to be able to compete with this team as long as they're locked in. So, I think those are probably the 2 things: 3-point shooting and kind of keeping Caleb Love on course.
All right. Now, before we sign off here, and then we got to talk about Aaron Torres, the great Aaron Torres, Desert Financial Credit Union. Join a credit union that is committed to giving back to the community and sharing success with the members. When you open a free checking account online, get $200 in bonuses. Get started by visiting desertfinancial.com/200. All right, Aaron, where can they find you? Again, Arizona fans need more Aaron Torres, not less Aaron Torres. Where can they find you?
Okay, so a couple things. Arizona fans for years have asked, hi, Torres, how do I support you? Download the Aaron Torres podcast, talking mostly college football. We're going to ramp up the college hoops, a lot like this show, just on a national scale, the fun conversations, the people that people are having. Here's the other thing. I started, the AT Media merch line about a year ago. And Arizona fans, they say, Torres, you got to get us a shirt, almost like John Rothstein. Rothstein's got his little quip for everybody. And so I created these Arizona football T-shirts. Can I grab one?
Yeah, I will talk while you go get it.
Okay, you vamp. I'm going to take off the headphone.
All right. Aaron
I will
Torres,
say they're nice, though. We've actually been selling quite a few, but give me
take your time. Again, people, we need to remember what is so awesome about Aaron Torres, besides the fact that he's great, is that he was the only national media person that stuck up for Arizona during the whole DeAndre Ayton thing. When it went down, he was also the one that said, a lot of this doesn't make much sense. And Aaron Torres is that dude right there. This is actually a pretty cool thing that he's going to be bringing back on here. But he also, again, backs the A. no matter what he says, outside of UConn, I'm just guessing that Arizona might be his second favorite program. That's just me surmising.
What was that? I didn't hear that.
Oh, no. Wow. Aaron Torres, show us this shirt, my friend.
Okay. So listen, are you an A backer, Mike?
Oh, I back the A, as you can tell. Let's see it. Aaron, by the way,
there's only one official shirt that speaks to the A backing, especially on the football field.
Let's see it.
Listen, you could get the Tommy Lloyd grab you. No, I'm not going to say that because that's me. Gone fishing, baby. Look at that guy.
Dude,
gone fishing. You can't really see it.
Aaron, put it in front of your face so it doesn't.
Can you see it?
Yeah, there you go.
Look at that. Come on. Tell me that's not a beautiful design.
Oh,
we've been selling quite a few. I'm actually low on a few sizes, but I will order more if Arizona fans want. You can reach out to me on Twitter at Aaron_Torres. You can go to AaronTorresOnline.com. There is a merchandise tab, which you can go ahead and you'll find that there. But yeah, no, Arizona fans were like, dude, you got to get us a shirt. And I saw everybody else doing the basketball thing. And I knew, honestly, listen, like you said, we get a lot of stuff wrong in this biz, but I could feel in the summer the momentum building for Arizona football. And I said, you know what? Screw this. Everybody else is going basketball. I love the A. I back the A. I'm an A backer. But it's everyone can throw up a fancy t-shirt design for basketball. But I am going to reach those special people in Tucson that truly back the A heading into football season. So we printed up some of these. We've been selling them. Listen, a 4-game win streak, including 3 ranked opponents, really does help sales. But again, AaronTorresOnline.com/merchandise. I have a, hold on one sec. I'm trying to figure out how to take out, hold on one sec. Yeah, I don't know how to change the background here, but yes, again, gone fishing, baby. Like, kind of like
that's great.
Tell me that's not a fire shirt. I will say the first batch probably went out about 3-4 weeks ago. I've gotten a lot of response. Like, I love it. Great design, great t-shirt, great idea. Love that it's football related. The quality is good. My t-shirt guy, Eddie, is the man. So he does really good work. And yeah, back the A, support Torres. And that's all I really got.
As the kids would say, it's lit.
It's lit. And here's the other thing too. It's Christmas. You don't know what to get your mom, your dad, your uncle. They all back the A, but it's like, well, what do I do? I can't, they don't live in Tucson. I can't buy them tickets, but they want to back the A wherever they is, or maybe they do live in Tucson. They already go to the games, but they need something to wear. Perfect for the holidays, Christmas, Hanukkah, Thanksgiving. Some people give away. Nobody gives away gifts on Thanksgiving, but listen, by the way, I probably can't get it to you by Thanksgiving anyway. But anyway, I've hijacked your show. Enough about it. But AaronTorresOnline.com/merchandise.
No, that's absolutely fantastic. Check it out real quick. We also have a shirt here, a D-backs shirt. Jacob Franklin, pull this up right here. These are cool. All right. Oh, wow.
Were you into the World Series run, or did not?
Yeah, I was in it because my good friend Jacob Franklin was into it. So I was
the ASU guy.
Yeah, the ASU guy. Here, hold on. We're gonna bring him on.
How come he doesn't do the ASU? Do you do the ASU show too?
I do pretty much anything they need me to do around here.
No, this is Jacob Franklin. Jacob Franklin makes everything happen. To give you an idea, my day starts. I wake up. I'm a loser. I wake up generally about 5:15, maybe about 5, but never any later than 5:30. By about 6:30, I start texting Jacob Franklin. Dude, send me the show notes or send me the show links as soon as you can. Jacob Franklin generally gets them to me much earlier than he needs to. Today,
by like 8:30 usually.
By 8:30 for sure. Jacob Franklin got it to me today by before 7 o'clock. That's what a leader of men this 6'8" Titan is right here, Aaron Torres.
So so you get up at 5:45. What do you do when like Arizona has that 8 p.m. Pacific tip off?
Dude,
asked me for the show links.
Yeah, that's were you asking me or were you asking Jacob?
No,
Franklin?
I'm asking you. Like, do you still get up at 5 the next day when you're at the arena till 11?
Yeah, I mean, I do. I don't sleep a ton. I like the grind. I embrace the grind, and I am glad that Jacob Franklin has a lot of patience because most producers would probably not put up with me texting them at 6:30 asking for show links. But yes, Jacob's the man.
I'm an early riser too, by the way. I'm a 5:45 guy a 5:40, every day.
Jacob also has a newborn though. So Jacob,
he's
how
10 months now.
Oh, well, that's saying.
A little bit further away.
By the way, Dennis Walsh, the great Jacob Franklin right there with an exclamation point. But on that note, Aaron, you're the man. You're a beast. Jacob Franklin, I actually like you as well. Thanks again. All right, but Aaron, I'll be texting you. As always, dude, really appreciate everything you do. Check out Aaron Torres. Again, get that shirt. That shirt's fantastic. But on that note, for Aaron Torres, Jacob Franklin, oh, and I already got OGs, Jacob Franklin. Don't worry about it. You have been listening to the AZ Wildcats podcast.
We all silly like the mayor.